Hello! My name is Laura Ward and I am a Laban movement analyst. I'm also a ballet dancer and I have studied very many forms of movement. The one that I'm most interested in at the moment is called continuum movement, and it is based on finding fluidity in your body and letting your body open up in sort of resonant free-form patterns. So the idea is to break down some of the rigid structures of the way that we hold ourselves and the way we think about ourselves to create more space to open up to more possibilities. So I'm really interested in free movement and how that affects free thinking. So when we go to the gym and we do the same workout, and it's all very linear, and we think we're isolating certain muscle groups, which we are never isolating anything because our body is one whole working together, but it can provide a structure that informs the way that we hold ourselves, or the rigidity pattern within our body, within our tissues, within our minds. So I think that the more free-formed improvisational movements are great to start to open up some of that stuff. And they're going to affect the fascia on a really nice level. They're going to open up some more space in the joints, in the tissues, in the nervous system. So I'm going to just do an exercise warming up where I'm going to balance back and forth between more specific movements that are like this type of thing, where I'm just moving in a pattern that's very easy to understand and very clear, and something that you maybe have done before, something like this or these types of things. And I'm going to bring in more three-dimensional, more hydrating movements that are going to feel really good in my body. So I'm going to go back and forth between more form-based and more freedom-based exercises, and I'm doing it completely improvisationally. So I am doing in my body what feels good to me right now, but I do have a background. I taught Pilates for a long time, and I still dance ballet regularly, so I have a lot of, and I still do yoga regularly, a lot of different things that are informing my movement, but I'm really more interested in the more free movements and allowing them to express in my body in ways that feel good. So I'm going to talk through it, and I'm going to invite you to participate. It means you can do the same type of movement as I'm doing, but mine's going to probably keep changing a lot, or you can do movement that feels good in your body. Now, it's pretty hard to injure yourself if something feels good, so stick within what actually feels good in your own body while you're moving. It doesn't have to look anything like what I'm doing. It could be totally different. So in Laban movement analysis, we talk about flow. And flow is sort of an ongoing fluidity of movement. That's one version of it. There are lots of different ways that flow can be discussed. But I'm going to talk about flow as something that's ongoing, like a stream, continual. Maybe there are different sort of behavior patterns in the stream. Maybe places where it goes quickly, maybe places where it kind of pools and spirals and swirls. But I'm thinking of tuning into that flow in my own body by listening in to what feels good. And I'm using the soundtrack. It's mostly, I think, music by Michel Aiello, which he gave me many years ago to use. So coming back to this idea of flow, there is, in movement analysis, in the effort factors, and effort in movement analysis is not how hard you're working, it's more like the dynamic quality of the movement that you're doing. So when we're talking about flow, effort, we might be talking about bound flow, which is very specific, very sort of adult, very mature, very contained, or free flow, which has much less muscle containment and is more childlike. And I think for humans, one thing that we've gotten really into in fitness is rigid form, and that doesn't give us a lot of room in our bodies to have breath, to have flow, to have hydration in the tissues, to have three-dimensional access to a movement within our bodies and sort of outside of our bodies, so that how we interact with the world has more fluid capacity, more ease. So now I'm really playing with my breath and my spine and how I'm going to exaggerate my breathing. And I'm slowing it down. So I'm working deeper in my spinal cord, and I'm letting as my tail moves and I feel my tailbone reaching down, I'm seeing how that ripples up through my body towards my head. So just slow and easy. Maybe you're doing something different, but this music has taken me really down into a much more recuperative pattern. So really working towards recuperative movement as opposed to active movement. Finding the breath. And I'm imagining that my breath is moving through my entire body, which technically it pretty much is in my blood. Oxygen is traveling through my body and my blood. And I'm going to play back and forth between these ideas of flow, and my flow is moving back and forth between bound flow and then more free flow. And breath. Deep breath support. And it feels really good. It feels really good inside my body. Adding spiraling. I'm also playing with the relationship of my whole body as an organism. That if I'm moving something at the edge of my distal body, the edge of my toes or in my foot, sole of my foot, how does that relate into my pelvis, into my spine, and up through into my head? So within our body are all of these relationships that whether we know it or not, they are in resonance with each other. So I'm just trying to engage in that resonance within my own body in a way that feels good and feels fun and maybe playful or maybe nurturing. So nurturing is a really great way of looking at it, like where we want to offer our bodies health and connection. We're not at war with them. I'm in the process of being in my body, of participating with my body, which feels really good. And I can hear some crunching around in the back of my occipital joint. Just letting some of that open up. And now I'm playing with this spiraling pattern, thinking of it initiating in the base of my pelvis and then coming out through my body into my arms, but swirling way beyond just the energy pattern of my body, moving way into the outer world. So when we move with more freedom, and when we feel good and connected within our own bodies, it makes it a lot easier to be in the world without being in our fight, flight, fear responses, but coming into more nurturing, soothe and settle, rest and digest, processing responses. Now I'm working with my arms as if they're wings. So I'm trying to find it from deep inside the center column of my body into my scapula, my clavicle, and out through my arms to my elbows, to my wrists, to my fingers. Good, so that was just a little freedom, wake up, experience the body lesson. And it's really about learning How do you know in your own body when something is right or wrong? Learning to self-reference so that you can come into yourself and find out, is that true for me or is that not true for me? Does that feel good to me? Does that not feel good to me? And the way is by knowing within your body. How does your body, is there a tension pattern arising around that? Or is it able to relax? Does it feel expansive or does it feel contracted? And you can ask into your own body about that. So I mean, when we're working at muscles, we are contracting them. I'm not talking about not contracting your muscles. I'm talking about an energetic contraction in your energy field or in your body or in your intuition. When we can come out of those fear patterns, we can nurture and nourish and flourish our own bodies a lot more. And when we're doing that with ourselves, we can spread it out into the rest of the world, which I think is something we really need to be thinking about right now. How to spread some positive self-love that spills out and moves into loving others, and preferably loving other creatures and other people and other living things and the planet. So starting at home with yourself and then letting it ripple out. So thank you for that.